By 2014, Raila Odinga had already lived through detentions, betrayals, and revolutions. He had led opposition movements, battles for multi-party democracy, and served as a prime minister in a fragile coalition government. But what came next from 2014 onwards will be a saga of resistance, reinvention, and reconciliation, colored by moments of tragedy, defiance, and national soul searching. After the contest of 2013 presidential election, Odinga retreated abroad, reflecting, regrouping, and studying global democratic system. His 2014 return to Kenya was met with fanfare and renewed calls for reform. In speeches across the country, he criticized what he described as authoritarian drift by the Jubilee administration and called for national dialogue. But his return did more than spark rallies. It rekindled resistance. It reminds his supporters that Raila Odinga was not done.
Raila alisema kura ziliibiwa. Ni kweli si kweli? Tulikataa uchaguzi, hatungeenda kucheza mpira ambao referee anafaa uniform ya Jubilee, yule mwenzake anafaa Jubilee, returning officer ni Jubilee. Uhuru asome yaliyotokea Zimbabwe.
Kwa hivyo 200,000 people cannot stop 1 million plus people from receiving Raila Odinga from the airport tomorrow. Na sisi tulisema kuna njia mbili peke yake. Moja tulisema hapa Kibira ya kwamba wakiapisha tunaapisha, wakiapisha tunaapisha. Na njia ya pili ni kwamba
kesho fanyeni njia yote kama sisi tumefika hapa. Tafuteni panya routes. Panya routes. Ufike airport, si ndio? Tuonane huko, tusindikize baba mpaka Uhuru Park, tusikie ile vitu baba amekuja kutuambia, si ndio?
The 2017 general election was framed as a battle for the soul of Kenya. NASA, the National Super Alliance, was more than a political outfit. It was a resistance movement. Odinga and NASA demanded free and fair elections, accusing the IEBC of incompetence and alleging plans to reach the polls.
NASA.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, yesterday we launched our campaign against any elections held by IBC as currently constituted. We said we shall go around the country sensitizing people about our case against elections by the IBC. We also said we shall sensitize our people about the reforms that must take place before they can be called to another election. Today, we have met grassroots leaders from various parts of the country to brief them on our conditions to IBC and have them take the message to the ground. On procurement of election materials, we have said we reject the Commission's intention to award the printing of election materials to Al Ghurair. Point number 4. Point number 5, on information and communication technology, ICT, we insist on a thorough, independent, transparent, end-to-end audit and quality assurance of the election technology ecosystem. 6, on election personnel, we maintain that the people who messed up last elections cannot be allowed to participate in organizing and conducting the next election. 7, polling stations must be gazetted, names and respective GPS locations published in at least 2 daily newspapers with national circulation. 8. On the transmission of results, we said the media must be given unfettered access to the election, and specifically counting of votes and announcement of results at the polling stations, tallying and declaration of the presidential results at the constituency. Because the Maina K ruling said that the elections shall be declared at the constituency and the result declared by the returning officer at the constituency are final. 9. In addition to this, we put together information linking local telecommunication firms, particularly Safaricom and Telcom Kenya, in collaboration with Saffron, and how they stole our votes. 10. We are on the trail of the local owners of Saffron and the firms that printed fake result declaration forms and ballot papers along Mombasa Road, called Elams. 11. We shall be sharing this information with these grassroots leaders at a later date and briefing them on the actions to take against these firms and individuals. I've already given them quite a bit of briefing on that. 12. Those individuals not only messed up and stole our elections, they also received bribes, and we will be naming, exposing, and prosecuting them. 13. We are counting on these grassroots leaders to ensure the people get us loud and clear that we are ready for elections. 14. That we do not want elections for the sake of it. We need credible elections conducted by men and women of integrity, not by the Chilobas, Chirchirs, Kasaids, and Guliyes of this world. 15. The lot that conducted the last elections must watch the next ones from their prison cells, not from the IBC offices. We said we want uchaguzi bora, sio bora uchaguzi.
When the August 2017 elections came, they were marred by irregularities and the death of IEBC ICT manager Chris Msando just days before the vote, a killing that sent shockwaves across the nation.
Good afternoon. We are here. We're here. We land with shock. The killing and murder of our employee, Chris Msando. There's no doubt that he was tortured and murdered. I know post-mortem will be done. In our mind as a commission, the only issue is who killed him and why. And that's a question that must be answered. We are a few days from elections, and we all know it's the duty of the government to provide security for all Kenyans. And at this point in time, I demand from the government that they provide security for all employees of IBC for us to give Kenyans a free and fair election. We are working with the police and the family to ensure that the killers of Chris Msando must be brought to book. As a commission, we are looking forward that all Kenyans must be secured, all employees of IBC must be secured for this country to have a free and fair election. Today, we were to have a launch of a simulation exercise at the Bomas of Kenya, but that will be postponed and a new date will be announced for that simulation exercise. So I appeal to all our employees countrywide to be calm as we go through this period of mourning with the family. The family has lost IBC has lost. Chris was one of the most dedicated employees of IBC in the ICT sector. He was the driving stone in the IBC sector. But he leaves behind a team at IBC whom he has trained, who will carry on his work.
But the tragedy didn't end there. In the wake of the contest results, violence broke out in opposition strongholds. In Kisumu, during a police raid in Nyalenda, 6-month-old baby Pendo was struck on the head by police officers with batons. She died days later in hospital. Her tiny white coffin became a symbol of the pain and cost of political impunity.
Funga nikitoka nasema, kumbe wewe ni mzito, nyinyi ndio mnatupa mawe. Enda pale kwa barabara tupe mawe sasa itakupiga risasi leo.
But to millions, baby Pendo wasn't just casualty. She was a martyr of a flawed democracy.
Nahisi vibaya sana. Haikuwa vizuri kutumia nguvu yenye haistahili.
Na kutokana na mambo ya mtoto, kulingana na mimi kama mwananchi, nilisikia uchungu sana na ningeomba serikali achukue hatua na maafisa wa polisi wachunge watoto wetu.
Mtu kama amejifungia ndani ya nyumba, amekimbilia usalama, haifai achapwe, haifai adhulumiwe. Kuna kwamba kama kuna waizi wameingia pale, wako right polisi wetu kufunja mlango waingie ndani. Na kwamba kuna wale walikuwa ndani ya nyumba na wakafunja mlango na wakajaribu. Hiyo ni kinyume ya sheria.
Enye bege si poa kabisa, si nzuri cause huyo ni mtoto mdogo na pia anahitaji maisha yake ya mbeleni, unaona. Sasa kenye polisi amefanya bedeni mbaya sana.
On January 30th, 2018, Raila Odinga declared himself the people's president at a symbolic swearing-in ceremony at Uhuru Park. Thousands cheered, the state panicked. But what followed will spotlight the state's intolerance and Raila's own balancing act between resistance and reconciliation.
Raila Odinga, in full realization of the high calling, assumed the office of the People's President of the Republic of Kenya. Do swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the people and the Republic of Kenya. That I will preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of Kenya as by law established, and all other laws as adopted by the people of Kenya. That I will protect, uphold sovereignty, integrity, and dignity of the people of Kenya. So help me God.
Enter Miguna, lawyer, firebrand, and self-declared general of NASA's National Resistance Movement. He administered the controversial oath. Days later, he was arrested in dramatic fashion, detained illegally, and deported to Canada despite being a Kenyan citizen by birth.
I'm not body. I'm not boarding. I don't have a passport. I'm not boarding. I'm not going. Where my luggage? Where is my passport? I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. The captain cannot fly. The captain cannot fly.
Put that phone down.
The captain cannot fly. The captain cannot fly. These are the court orders. Read them. These court orders say I must be in this country. Yeah.
Why are they not allowing you into?
Because of politics. They are scared of me. Now you, as a captain, is not allowed to fly me anywhere against my will. First of all, I don't have a passport. Secondly, I didn't book your plane. Thirdly, I don't have status in Dubai. So how am I going to go to Dubai? I don't live in Dubai. I don't work in Dubai. I have no connections to Dubai. So I'm not going to Dubai. Let them kill me. That's fine. Let them kill me. That's what they want. Let them go ahead and do it.
No, they're going to offer.
But I'm not going to Dubai.
I've spoken to our management in Dubai, and they are going to get hold of immigration here to make sure that you don't come on this.
Yes. I don't want to come on this flight. I did not book it. They cannot chase me away like a pig when I have orders. I was born here. Some of these guys were not born here. They're just thugs.
His house was raided, his passport torn, a court ordered his return, but the government defied it. And Raila, he remained largely silent on Miguna's plea, an act many called pragmatic, others betrayal. On March 9th, 2018, the country witnessed the unthinkable. Raila Odinga and President Uhuru Kenyatta met, shook hands, and called for unity. For some, it was peace. For others, it was capitulation. Odinga, once the face of defiance, had joined hands with the man many believed stole elections. Together, they birthed the Building Bridges Initiative, BBI, which proposed constitutional reforms meant to end winner-takes-all politics.
Nobody can stop reggae. Nobody can stop reggae.
Tumpongeze kwa makofi Mheshimiwa Rais anapotia sahihi.
Ungane, songe kwa pamoja.
I can tell you honestly, as your president, who consumes first-hand information from a multitude of sources, if there had been no handshake, this country would have been brought to its knees.
Now, prophets of doom. Oh, this constitution is creating an imperial presidency, recreating it. You're very intelligent and learned people. You will read through those lines and tell us where we are recreating an imperial presidency. I know, because we are victims of imperial presidency and we cannot recreate one.
And I want to make it clear here that we're not talking about replacing a constitution. We're talking about amending a constitution.
Things have been said about this. It is dividing the people of Kenya. It is not addressing the issues of the common man, Mama Mboga, the Juakali, the watu wa wheelbarrows, and so on. Those are issues which are legislative, not constitutional matters.
Kenya itaishi milele na milele na milele. And that is why we do some of the things that we do, not for what we gain today. Ipo tukaamua lazima turekebishe haya. Na kwangu mimi hiyo haikuwa mara yangu ya kwanza ku reach out. Nime reach out hata mbeleni. Hata mwenzangu Deputy William Ruto. We reached out tukalete amani.
We are confident that if we come together as a people, nothing can stop us from realizing the Kenyan dream as coined by the founding fathers of our nation.
But not all Kenyans were convinced. In 2021, after the national debates and political theater, BBI was struck down by the courts. Kenya's judiciary ruled that constitutional amendments could not be driven by the president, a massive blow to both Uhuru and Odinga.
A declaration is hereby made that the president does not have authority under the constitution to initiate changes to the constitution, and that a constitutional amendment can only be initiated by parliament through a parliamentary initiative and Article 256, or through a popular initiative and Article 257 of the constitution. 4. A declaration is hereby made that the steering committee on the implementation of the Building Bridges to a United Kenya Task Force report established by the president, V-Day, Kenya Gazette Notice number 264 of 3rd January 2020, and published in a special issue of the Kenya Gazette of 10th January 2020, is an unconstitutional and unlawful entity. 5. A declaration is hereby made that being an unconstitutional and an unlawful entity, the Steering Committee on the Implementation of the Building Bridges to a United Kenya Task Force report has no legal capacity to initiate any action towards promoting constitutional changes under the Article 257 of the Constitution. 6. A declaration is hereby made that the entire BBI process, culminating with the launch of the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2020, was done unconstitutionally and in usurpation of the people's exercise of sovereign power. 7. A declaration is hereby made that Mr. Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta has contravened Chapter 6 of the Constitution, and specifically Article 73, Sub-Article 1, Sub-Article A, Sub-Article 1, that the entire unconstitutional change process promoted by the Steering Committee on the Implementation of the Building Bridges to a United Kenya Task Force report is unconstitutional, null and void. 9. A declaration is hereby made that the Constitution Amendment Bill 2020 cannot be subjected to a referendum before the IEBC carries out nationwide registration exercise. 10. A declaration is hereby made that the IEBC does not have quorum stipulated by Section 8 of the IEBC Act as read with Paragraph 5 of the second schedule to the Act for purposes of carrying out its business relating to the conduct of the proposed referendum, including the verification of signatures in support of the Constitution Amendment Bill and Article 257(4) of the Constitution submitted by the Building Bridges Secretariat. 11. A declaration is hereby made that at the time of the launch of the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2020 and the collection of endorsement signatures, there was no legislation governing the collection, presentation and verification of signatures, nor a legal framework to govern the conduct of referenda. 12. A declaration is hereby made that the absence of a legislation or legal framework to govern the collection, presentation and verification of signatures and the conduct of referenda in the circumstances of this case renders the attempt to amend the Constitution of Kenya through the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2020 flawed. 13. A declaration is hereby made that county assemblies and parliament cannot, as part of their constitutional mandates, to consider a constitution amendment bill initiated through a popular initiative under Article 257 of the Constitution, change the contents of such a bill. 14. A declaration be and is hereby made that the second schedule to the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2020, insofar as it purports to predetermine the allocation of 70 constituencies, is unconstitutional. 15. A declaration be and is hereby made that the second schedule to the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2020, insofar as it purports to direct the IEBC on its functions of constituency delimitation, is unconstitutional. 16. A declaration be and is hereby made that the second schedule to the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2020, insofar as it purports to have determined by delimitation the number of constituencies and apportionment within the counties, is unconstitutional for want of public participation. 17. A declaration is hereby made that the administrative procedures for the verification of signatures in support of constitutional amendment referendum made by the IEBC are illegal, null and void because they were made without quorum, in the absence of legal authority, and in violation of Article 94 of the Constitution and Sections 5, 6, 11 and 11 of the Statutory Instruments Act. 18. A declaration is hereby made that Article 257, sub-Article 10 of the Constitution requires all the specific proposed amendments to the Constitution be submitted as separate and distinct referendum questions to the people. 19. A permanent injunction be and is hereby issued restraining the IEBC from undertaking any processes required under Article 257.4 and 257.5 in respect of the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2020. 20. The prayer for an order that Mr. Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta makes good public funds used in the unconstitutional and constitutional change process promoted by the Steering Committee on the Implementation of the Building Bridges to a United Kenya Task Force report established by Mr. Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta is declined for reasons that we've given in our judgment. 21. The prayer for the orders that the Honorable Attorney General to ensure that other public officers who have directed or authorized the use of public funds in the unconstitutional constitutional change process promoted by the steering committee, by the BBI steering committee, make good the said funds is also declined for the reasons we have given in our judgment. 22. The rest of the reliefs in the consolidated petitions, which we have not specifically granted above, are deemed to have been declined. And lastly, this being a public interest matter, parties shall bear their own costs.
Still Raila pressed forward. In December 2021, he declared his fifth presidential bid, backed by Uhuru Kenyatta and running under the Azimio la Umoja Alliance. He selected Martha Karua, a veteran lawyer and reformist, as his running mate.
But I want to begin by paying gratitude to all of you who have come here today and who have made a decision to nominate me as your candidate in the coming elections. I want to say that I accept the nomination by Azimio la Umoja to vie for the President of the Republic of Kenya in the August 2022 elections. I accept this nomination with absolute gratitude and dedication to our people, our country, and all the leaders and parties that have endorsed this nomination. You have handed me a strong, broad, and unified platform to stand on and additional pairs of hands to help steady the ship. Azimio is a broad national democratic movement which puts premium on national unity, inclusive development, and transparent and accountable use of public resources. We'll use it to continue the struggle to eradicate poverty, ignorance, and disease that our nationalists initiated at independence, but still remains a work in progress. The nomination comes with a responsibility to lead Azimio to resounding victory in August and put our country firmly on the path of greatness and prosperity.
But in the 2022 election, William Ruto ran as a hustler from humble roots, narrowly defeated him. 4 IEBC commissioners rejected the results. Raila filed a petition. The Supreme Court dismissed it.
The final orders made by the courts. This is a unanimous decision of the courts, and we make the following orders. 1, The presidential election petition number E005 of 2022 as consolidated with the presidential election petition numbers E001, 2, 3, 4, 7, and 8 of 2022 are hereby dismissed. As a consequence, we declare the election of the first respondent as president-elect to be varied under Article 143 of the Constitution. This being a matter cutting across the public interest, we order that each party do bear their own costs.
For the fifth time, Raila Odinga fell short. Raila refused to fade away. In 2023, he led mass protests against the high cost of living, alleging electoral fraud and corruption. The protests turned deadly. Businesses shut down. The country reeled from tear gas barricades and lost a lot of lives. He demanded an overhaul of the IEBC, justice for victims like Baby Pendo, and a national dialogue. Even as some criticized the protest, others saw them as part of Raila's undying mission to hold power to account. In a surprising twist, Raila Odinga, long the challenger of Africa autocrats, announced his candidacy for African Union Commission chairperson in 2024, endorsing by President William Ruto.
It is therefore an immense privilege to host all of you as we assemble in Nairobi to announce Kenya's nomination of the Right Honorable Raila Odinga as candidate for the position of chairperson of the Africa Union Commission.
A continental role for a man once called a national radical. From prison to the AU, perhaps Raila Odinga's final chapter may be written not in Kenya but across Africa. He has been called many things: liberator, enigma, betrayer, survivor, but Raila Odinga's greatest legacy may not lie in State House but in the millions he inspired to demand more from their government. His journey has been one of hope and heartbreak, tragedy and triumph.